Hey everybody, it's Georgia Rose from Zencuda, and I am here in the Soul Space podcast. I'm pre-taping the show today because I have some business appointments tomorrow and I don't want to feel really rushed. So welcome, welcome. I hope you enjoyed last week's show. We actually had viewer appreciation night and we were able to do some live readings. So we're going to do that once a month or so, maybe once every 6 weeks or so. And I know you guys love the cards and you love it when I do cards live online. And so we'll be doing that. Also want to tell you my website is just about done. I am just such a perfectionist. I've been tweaking so much, but that'll have a lot of space for you guys to really see all my work in one place. My Soul Space podcast will be up there, as will all of my blogs. And you'll also have a chance to get some online classes and some other goodies. My personal set of oracle cards that I created for all of you are there. It's going to be really, really cool. So watch for that. What I'm probably going to do is on next week's show, I'm going to show you all that and we'll go through it. There'll be some freebies for you guys too. I wanted to do that this Monday, but unfortunately, there were some tweaks that had to be done. And also, I wanted to devote this show to the energy that we're in right now and really go more of a deep dive into some of the things that we talked about last week. The Capricorn full moon, which is actually today, Sunday the 21st, but you're seeing this on Monday the 22nd. So you're in the aftermath of that really powerful full moon. And I wanted to talk about that today because I think that had a lot of effects on a lot of people. Got a lot of phone calls over the weekend, just trying to kind of deal with that energy. So again, welcome to the show. If you are a new viewer, welcome, welcome. And if you've been following my work for a while, if you would share the show, that's really great. And also, I'd be grateful. And also, don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel, Zencuda on YouTube. That is growing, growing, growing. I have new subscribers every day. And one of my videos that I did recently there just got 9,000 views. So thank you so much for that. Our show is growing and our community is growing. So for those of you who are tuning in for the first time, what is Zencuda? Well, Zencuda is a community and positive media content, online classes, videos that we all share to spread positivity on the soul path of reaching our full potential. We're a group of people who really believes in spirituality and the intention of the soul and letting our soul lead us. So today I have this beautiful t-shirt on that says love. And I deliberately wore that today because I know a lot of you have been having a little bit of a roller coaster. I have a couple of videos on the Zencuda site now about what this energy has been like and why the Mars-Uranus conjunction, among other things, this full moon and things like that. So I'm going to jump into the astrology because there's some really deep stuff to talk about tonight. And I don't know if some of you might find it a little too deep, but hopefully this community is one where we all really are here for self-development and self-mastery. And we're looking to really improve our lives and find our soul's intention and grow. And so we're at a very pivotal and critical point right now, not just in the astrology. Those of you who know me know I'm an astrologer. I'm also a psychic intuitive, a medium, and a healer. But whatever those labels are, I just try to be a really inspirational being. On my journey, whenever things happen or I'm feeling energy in a certain way, I always try to deliver that message out to the collective when I feel it's appropriate. And so this is one of those shows. We really, really are in a very, very pivotal time. So last week on the show, I talked about how Pluto is headed towards the final degrees of Capricorn. It's been in Capricorn since 2008. And then this past January of 2024, it went into Aquarius. And now it's been retrograde for several weeks and it's headed back into Capricorn. And this full moon that we're actually having on the 21st of July, which was yesterday for those of you watching this, that full moon has been right up against Pluto. Now, Pluto is still in Aquarius. So this full moon is right behind it, but they're right up against each other, just like a sandwich in really Capricornian energy, because in the 0 degree of Aquarius, Pluto. So it's the culmination of a cycle since 2008, but it's also the culmination of a 240 to 260 year cycle because Pluto orbit is that. So Pluto returning to Aquarius hasn't happened for that length of time. 250, 260 years, around 240, 260 years. So that has a play in what the energy in the world really is. And I talked about that on the last podcast. You can go back and watch it, and how this is playing out, in especially the United States, because we're having what we call our Pluto return, where Pluto returns to the place it was when the country was born. And that's why we're seeing so much revolution and transformation. But tonight, I want to talk about how this is affecting all of us and the specific transits that are in the chart right now that are really amplifying and magnifying this energy of transformation for us. So I'm going to ask you guys, if you want to take some notes during this podcast, that's great. If not, you'll remember some things that you have to, because spirit always touches us that way. But I'm going to ask everyone to do a little bit of a review and go back to what was going on for you in the last 16 years since 2008. What have been the running themes? Has it been a running theme to do with career? Has it been a running theme to do with relationships? Has it been a running theme to do with where you live and the geography and the environment of your life? Has it been old wounds coming to the surface? Because since 2008 especially, the Pluto and Capricorn years have been years where a lot of trauma has been revealed for all of us. There's been a lot of blame, shame coming to the surface. You see that out in the world right now. I mean, I call people blamers in my own mind all the time. I don't put that out in the collective, but there's all this blame that goes on. We see it about everything, somebody falls in a well and it's somebody's fault. Somebody gets shot and it's somebody's fault. And that's all true. There's always someone who is at fault by making a choice. But it's become so rampant that the blame is now really gone into the shame territory, to the point where if your child loses a game, the other people shame him or criticize him. And while that is an attachment style that's become really prevalent in the world, I think it's one that we need to not move towards. And that's why we've seen so much trauma come up in the last 16 years, because we've seen that tradition, that laying down of laws, that framework that is so traditionally and typically Capricornian, of needing a structure in order to strategize everything and needing a structure in which to climb. We've seen that really gone into a negative in a lot of ways in our societies all over the globe. And so as Pluto ties up and ends and culminates that energy in Capricorn, we have to deal with the wounds that came to the surface. And I think for us on an individual level, there's a lot of grief that has not been processed. And the problem with not processing grief, whether that's come from something recent in our life, or it comes from a childhood thing or a past life event, the thing that happens when grief isn't processed is we become a cynical person, we become unhappy, we start to spread that dissatisfaction, that dis-ease, that discomfort all over the place. And I did a podcast back in 2020 when I was, doing the podcast from my home because we couldn't go anywhere. And I remember that summer doing a podcast about people throwing their wounds all over the sidewalk, because the country that I live in was in such unrest, from racial things and cultural things and political things and just fear. And Pluto is very much an energy of fear. It will bring out our deepest fears so that we have to be brave enough to transform them. And I remember doing that podcast about people are just throwing their wounds all over the sidewalk, and we all need to go home and close our front door and deal with our wound, deal with our grief, deal with our shame, deal with our pain. And I truly believe that, divinely, things all happen for us, not to us. I think that's part of COVID. That COVID occurred in order for us all to go home and take a breather and slow our roll and work on the things that we needed to work on in order to be better humans. And a lot of us did that. And a lot of us emerged from COVID with new trajectories. And I think this energy right now with this full moon and with Pluto going headed towards the final degrees of Capricorn, where it will be until around the end of this year, around November, it's tying those shoelaces, it's sweeping off the porch, it's finalizing all that Capricornian energy that we've been in since 2008. the crumbling of all the structures, right? But also the crumbling of the illusions in our own life. And so we can't go forward and throw our wounds and all of our dissatisfaction and all of our judgment all over the sidewalks of our life. We have to go home and process it. And I think that's the message that we're getting with the energetic feelings we're having this weekend past and maybe into these next few days. If we're feeling anxiety, we're feeling nervous. I know I was on a class on Friday and one of my participants said that she just feels this impending doom, this feeling like something's going to happen. And that could be, psychic. I get those feelings sometimes too. And I'm, schooled enough to know what's my energy and what is a collective energy that I'm taking in externally. But I implore all of you to take a day, whether it's Sunday or Monday or Tuesday or just a couple of hours, call into work and say, I'll be late, or come home early, or the evening that you're supposed to spend with someone, just give your regrets and go home and be in silence. Just for a little while. And think about if you have that anxiety, if you have that discomfort, that dissatisfaction, that anger, or jealousy, or judgment, or criticism, or just cynicalness, any negative emotion that you're feeling that's been really heightened in this energy, especially the last Saturday and Sunday, the 20th and 21st, go home and deal with it. Go into your inner landscape, which is the Cancer energy, where the sun is. The sun's headed for Leo. So we only have like today and tomorrow to finish this off. Go into that energy and really think about, what is this feeling? Where is it coming from? And don't be afraid to do that. Because I think what this nervousness, what this pulsivity, what this heartbeat, what this energy of anxiety and anticipation is that we're all feeling, is Pluto telling us to find the new way. But until we do, we have to really delve into that old way. What doesn't work? What's making us feel so sick, so diseased? Saturday morning, I could feel my vagus nerve like not functioning properly. And I would get up out of a seated position and feel very faint, and my heart would race. And I said to myself, there's nothing in the outside world that's really causing this. This is coming from an energetic feeling internally that the cosmos are doing to me. What do they want me to look at? What are they tapping me on the shoulder and saying, hey, 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 stop, cleaning the house, stop cooking the meal, stop, writing in your journal right now. Just look up and go inward and live from the inside out. Talked about that on last week's show. Instead of the external allowing it in and to create you, go from the inside landscape, the beautiful Cancerian energy, in order to create your own structure as Capricorn. Cancer Capricorn is that axis. And I sat for a minute and I said, okay, what am I really feeling? My heart was like racing out of my chest for no reason. And I said, okay, I know this well enough to be anxiety, but why am I having anxiety? What is it? What is this feeling? Is something going to happen in the world today? Because sometimes I will get those downloads. I will get those flashes. I knew it wasn't that. Okay, this is something they're trying to show me within me. There's something that the universe is tapping me on the shoulder, making me feel uncomfortable in my own skin because I have to look at it. And an old wound opened up. And there had been things that had occurred the few days leading up to this that I thought were very minor, like disturbances that happened in my life to criticize me, to make me feel diminished in some way, to make me feel shameful that maybe I wasn't worthy and maybe my voice wasn't, important in the world. And I didn't internalize them very much when they occurred because they seemed very insignificant, like I'm over that stuff, I'm not going to let it into my energy field. But what I didn't do was I didn't stop to really think about if they were affecting me, whether it was like physically or in a certain way. And so they had accumulated in my energy field. And the reason why I'm smiling when I say that is because it's so beautifully repulsive at the same time because you're so uncomfortable in your own skin. But it's so beautiful when the universe talks to you. If you listen, if you don't listen, you stay uncomfortable and you stay like you want to jump out of your own skin and you say, I stay frightened, and you try to keep pinning something on the feeling. Oh my God, should I go to the hospital? Am I in arrhythmia? Oh my God, did I eat something I'm allergic to? Oh my God, is something terrible going to happen in the world? No, Georgia, you just need to sit with yourself and really delve into what is the emotion and why is the universe showing it for you? Because I love the universe, I love spirit, I love God. So I know when that happens, it's for me. They're trying to bring me to a higher place. So I sat down, I realized that those things had accumulated a little bit, and I knew when they happened that I was strong enough and operating from my internal system that they really didn't bother me. But our work is never done. Someone recently came up to me and they said, I don't need fixing. And the great news is this partner that I met doesn't need fixing either. And I was very happy for them. It's always a beautiful thing whenever I see two people who are merging in a beautiful way and elevating each other. And these people certainly are. But to say you don't need fixing, we always all need fixing. This is in perpetuity. We will grow and grow and grow to levels, but we still have those wounds. And so Pluto conjunct the moon in Capricorn, opposing the sun in Cancer, inner and outer stability, showed me, yeah, there's still this little thing there that like sometimes people can make you feel unworthy. And it's that way for all of us, right? We can get on our pedestal and say, hey, I'm fixed, I'm cured, I'm good, because we're feeling good about things. And that's great. But when things come up and the universe is trying to show us something, go home, close the front door, go to the ocean, sit on the beach alone, play beautiful music that brings you to that place. And process, interruptions, process what they're trying to show you, because for your own good. So now here we are in this energy of Pluto headed back to the final degrees of Capricorn. And it's doing that when we have Chiron in the final degrees of Aries. I'm looking at the chart right now. We've got Mercury in the final degrees of Leo, headed for Virgo. We've got Uranus headed towards those final degrees of Taurus. It'll change next year. We've got Saturn in Pisces with Neptune in the final degree of Pisces at 29. All this finality, all this changing of the guards, all of this energy coming in to show us, look, this big, huge lessons that Pluto's been trying to teach you since 2008. And we all know what the lessons were in the collective. I've talked about it ad nauseum. But today we're going to talk about what those messages are for each of us individually. So what are those and what are they, what's coming to the surface? Because Neptune in the final degrees of Pisces is there to bust your illusion about it. Uranus headed for the final degrees of Taurus is there to show you what true stability is. Where is your self-preservation? Where are you stuck? Where am I stuck? Where are all of us stuck in these frameworks that the Capricornian traditions and structure and conditioning have shown us? Be in this box. Be in this box. This is the way relationships are done. This is the way government is done. This is the way schooling is done. This is the way politics is done. This is the way you eat your food. This is the way you get healthy. All these frameworks that keep us stuck. Because this is the final time that you're going to get poked and prodded about it. So the question then becomes, and what Pluto is saying in these 29 degrees that it's headed for, before it goes into Aquarius for good, for a while, 30 years. What is it saying? It's saying, are you ready to move on? Are you ready to really go deep into the wound that's been controlling you, the fear that's been controlling you, the stuff that we keep on the shelf? When we're feeling really bad, it miraculously flies down to make us feel worse. The stuff that questions us all the time and judges us all the time, and we don't want to look at it. So then those questions and the questioning and the judgment and the icky feelings, we're projecting out into the world in some way, because if we can do that, then they're not in us so much. We've diffused them. I'm getting them up and out. I'm getting rid of them instead of bringing them up and digesting them, which is Capricorn, digestion, and realizing, wow, I need to chew on this icky tasting, ugly vitamin with a bitter taste for a little while and close my front door and feel it for myself because I need to dissolve it, digest it, and eliminate it. Scorpion energy. Pluto is ruled by Scorpio. Pluto rules Scorpio. So that's why Pluto is something has to die to be transformed. We have to eliminate it, let it decay, get rid of it. It's like a parasite, right? So are you ready to move on? What has been shown to you these last 16 years? What kind of scorpionic behavior can you do where you move through it and rise above it? Burn it to the ground, let it not have power over you anymore. Whether that's great loss, abandonment, rejection, loss of self-worth, there's something that we all have to move away from. And this is the energy where it's being shown to us, and that's why we're anxious. So the reason why I say this is so important now, because of all these planets lining up, is because during this full moon on Sunday, just yesterday, if you're watching the show on Monday, Mars is in Gemini with Jupiter amplifying it. And Mars is not only our action, but it's the way we respond to things. So when these things come up that are making us uncomfortable or giving us anxiety or giving us fear, Mars is the driver in your chart that tells you, hey, this is how you're going to be responding to stuff in your life. This is how you're going to take action in your life. And Mars was in Taurus when we've had all this energy accumulating the last few weeks. Now it's in Gemini with Jupiter. And in Gemini, it's new energy. It wants us to move forward. It's ruled by Mercury. This is showing us now your response, your activity, your action wants to be different from what you've been dealing with for a really long time. There's a new way of generating your reaction, your responses to whatever is so restrictive, is binding you, is holding you in stuck place. Now you're going to be responding to it and evolving from it is the word I want to look at. Evolving from it. Because we've been revolving around it for a long time. It's like that person at work that you don't really like. So when she's in the lunchroom, you leave, or you like try and make believe you're busy, or you pick up your phone and pretend you're on it, or you're like revolving around her. She keeps coming back, or he keeps coming back, or maybe you're that person for someone else. And it's all being revolved around, but we don't engage with it to evolve the energy. And that's what's been going on with our wounds, with a lot of the shame that's risen to the surface in these last 16 years from Pluto and Capricorn, with a lot of the generational wounds, societal wounds, familial, right? Your legacy, your ancestors, that's very much Capricornian energy. It's the way the outside world sees you. We're seeing a lot of people in public arena, the tide change for good or for worse, being seen much differently. That's the elements that we're in now. So what I will say to you is when you go in your quiet time and think about and contemplate on what is the area where I'm stuck, what is the universe really showing me needs my attention, needs me to cure, to evolve, to do in a different way. Try and bring in that Mars, your driver, the energetic energy that asserts you and makes you feel powerful. Try and bring that in to show you with Mercury, all right? Because Mercury's headed to Virgo. And during this full moon, it was squaring Uranus, Uranus is the awakener. So Mercury and Uranus are talking. During the full moon, they're having a little bit of a difficult situation. We're in the wound. We're like, wow, I'm nervous and I'm anxious and like I feel unworthy, or I feel shame, or I remember that time I was so rejected, or some childhood memory comes back, or a physical feeling in the body comes back from a past life. And as the full moon passes, which now, if you're watching this on Monday, it's passing. Now Mercury and Mars start to come in through. The moon is past Pluto now. So now the energy changes up a little bit. You'll wake up like Tuesday morning or so, and you'll be like, the anxiety is a little less. And now I'm getting an idea of how to move forward. I may be ready to move forward now. This thing that has such finality in my life had to become intense before it broke through. It's like a plane breaking through the sound barrier. It's got to really build up steam and then go through it. Well, Pluto in Capricorn since 2008 has been building up and building up and building up, churning the wound, churning the cracks in the driveway, churning, putting more debris on the porch, churning where we are inadequate, where something doesn't sit right, where the wound comes in, where we're unworthy, where we have shame, all those things. And we've been dealing with it, and we've been healing it, and we've been pulling it apart, and we've been unpacking it. We've been involved with it, right? And now we have to commit to no longer being involved with it. Not just in a way of avoiding and evolving and revolving around. I mean, not just in a way of avoiding and revolving around it, but in a way of evolving it, chewing on it, tasting it, getting that bitterness, swallowing it, digesting it, and letting it go all the way through and eliminating it. That's what this energy is all about. And it's going to be with us for a little while. We have an opportunity to do this. Chiron is also really playing out at the final degrees of Aries. It's going to go retrograde in a couple of days. When that happens, it's going to revisit all this. It's going to allow you to keep going into that wound and cleansing it a little more. It's like, did you ever get stitches or a surgery and you have to cleanse the wound? And when the first day it happens, it's like excruciating and it hurts so much. And then after a while, it hurts less and less each time you cleanse it and you cleanse it. And pretty soon there's nothing really there to cleanse. And the wound might leave a little tiny scar, but it doesn't even need a Band-Aid anymore. It's like, and then after a while with some wounds, it'll be like nothing's there. It's gone, right? That's what we need to do now. That's what we need to do. Rip off the Band-Aid. Look at the thing that's a little infested maybe or swollen or infected. We can't live like that. It's hurting us. It's poking us. It's pinching us. It's pricking us. And it's making us act poorly and respond in a way we shouldn't be in some area of our life. It's binding us, restricting us, and holding us back. So do that healing work. Suggestions for that, especially with Chiron going retro. I think that this is a great time for everyone to be in some kind of meditation on a daily basis. Do your spiritual practices. Neptune at the final degrees of Pisces is all about that. Neptune is all about really committing to the spiritual practice that brings you to a higher level and helps you to break through what restricts you and what binds you and what keeps you stuck. When we're connected to Chiron in a very helpful way, Chiron will help us with the culmination of this energy, because Chiron, I wrote some notes about Chiron as I meditated today and kind of felt it. Chiron is all about learning to work through our primal wounds, our primal instincts. You know, Chiron oftentimes is known as the wounded healer, but Chiron, that's a cop-out. Chiron is really where we can find through Saturn and Uranus the remedy, the medicine, the antidote, the healing. And so it allows us to grow stronger and change the way we respond to the wound. And that's really deep stuff. But like I said, Pluto rules Scorpio, and the Scorpion digs deep in order to come out with treasure. So the treasure is in whatever is triggering you, whatever that anxiety is that you're feeling. You have to process it. The body processes food, digests it, and eliminates what no longer serves us, what is not nutritious for us. That's what we need to do with wounds. We can't just like slam the door and pretend they don't exist. We can't just slam the door. It's like, my shirt is dirty, I'm just going to take it off and throw it in the laundry, and yeah, I'll get to it later. And you put on a clean shirt, but every time you walk in the laundry room, that shirt is looking at you saying, hey, you didn't do the laundry. You just threw me over here in the corner, right? So do your laundry, sweep the porch, plug the cracks in the driveway, eliminate the wound, allow it to heal. But wounds don't heal by themselves. We have to go in and work them. And care for them and nurture them into a positive, work with the energy to transmute, transform. And that's the highest octave of Pluto, is that transmutation. So use Pluto energy in Capricorn in these final degrees to dispel, to digest, to eliminate, to rise into self-mastery for transfiguration, transmutation. Use Neptune in the final degrees of Pisces to help you break that illusion of safety, that stuckness. If I just stay here and I don't do anything, I'll be okay. But you won't be. You'll still be stuck. And when Pluto goes into Aquarius, the last thing it's going to do is allow us to be stuck. It's going to be pioneering and beautiful and wanting us to step into a higher level of self-mastery and evolution. And so we use Neptune to dispel the myths. We use Pluto to allow us the energy of transfiguration and transformation. We use Mars to give us the response and action that is for our higher good. We use Mercury to process and allow us to mentally understand what the strategy is of the new way of being. And we use Uranus, the Great Awakener, to allow us to see the truth and become ready to move forward. And that's the sky right now. And then Chiron comes in, this beautiful energy of also transformation, of allowing us to move forward, transfigure and transmute what's been keeping us stuck and holding us back for such a very long time. And so what I want to talk about as far as some tools to give you to finally heal and use all this beautiful energy of the cosmos and as a guide in our life, a really good tool and some vocabulary words to start to use in our own daily speech and in our talks with ourselves is think about where you are involved and where you are committed. And this came to me in a meditation recently, and it might not register with you right away, but if you meditate on this, it will come through. And this is a really deep thing as well. Okay, let me backtrack. So this energy that I'm discussing, what it's done is it's brought stuff to the surface. And when things are brought to the surface, and that feeling I had yesterday of like my heart racing and I felt not comfortable in my own skin, it's a splitting apart. It's a splitting apart of the old way, new way. We don't even register that on a conscious level, but that's what it is. And without going into all the planetary detail and in a more spiritual way, that's what it is. You know, anxiety, the definition of anxiety is disconnect. You're disconnected. So whenever you feel anxiety, you've got to go quiet and try and be in your body, even though that primal response, that Chiron pranic response is to run. Let me get out of here. Something's wrong. Let me change something. Staying with it is where the remedy is. Because when we're breaking apart, there's an old way and a new way, and we're in between when we're in the breaking. But if we can look forward, the new way will be in our vision shortly. It's like traveling down a highway or allowing the universe to bring the scenery to us, right? If we stay and just think about, okay, why do I feel like this? What is it that I have to move forward to find? The universe will bring it to us. And then that breaking apart that we're feeling, suddenly we start to feel better because we have a solution, we have a comfort, because we've been shown something different than what we've been doing. Because the thing that we've been doing is what is causing the breaking apart. It doesn't work. It's not in alignment. My ears ringing again. My ears have been ringing for 2 days. And I always know when I'm going into a higher plane when my ears are ringing. So Chiron is showing us, it's breaking apart things. And I know Uranus is the planet that breaks things apart, but the energy of Chiron in Aries is what space are you taking up? So if you're taking space up someplace that doesn't align with what your soul really wants, you're going to feel like you're breaking apart. You're going to feel anxious. You're going to feel really, nervous. And so that's what was happening to me yesterday because it's showing me a new way. So are you ready to move forward? So what am I involved in? Where is my involvement? And where am I committed? That's the key to all of this energy and bring ourselves forward into where we're really supposed to go. And here's the difference. Involvement lets us get away with stuff. It lets us slide in. It lets us be like, all right, I'm obligated to go see my mom today. I don't really want to get entangled over there, but I'll just go and I'll do this and I'll be fine. A lot of times we use involvement to solve an obligation. We use involvement also to make ourselves look kind of good. Like, well, I know my family believes a certain way, so I'm just going to go along with their discussions today, Involvement is an energy that feels like we're engaged with other people or we're engaged in group activity or we are comforted by it. And that's true. A lot of times when we're involved, we really are comforted by it. But when I looked at it in my life, I felt like I was involved in a lot of things that were causing stress at one time, not so much now. And I had to curtail those involvements. And the involvement curtailing, the only antidote was I had to take some time to myself, be in my own energy in order to find out what I really wanted to be committed to. What you commit to will curtail a lot of the unhealthy involvement because it becomes harder to stay involved in the unhealthy stuff when you're committed to your own self-love and growth. And that is the ultimate level of Pluto in Capricorn the last 16 years. Where has it shown you where you need to be committed to your own self-mastery and own evolution and self-love? And where is it showing you that the involvement that you have in your life in certain areas, it's holding you back. It's binding you to things that are unhealthy, things that are causing you to break apart, things that are causing you anxiety, things that are causing you to throw your wound all over the sidewalk because you're not dealing with it. So involvement versus commitment. Because I have a tendency to use involvement for the things that I know I don't want to be committed to. So I'll just get kind of involved. It's like a stopgap. It's like the mild detergent. It's not really going to wash your clothes, but you feel good because you're putting detergent in, right? So that's what it is. So now let's talk about commitment. Are you ready to move forward and can you commit to that? Are you ready to really do the work? Maybe I'm going to be uncomfortable and I'm going to feel shitty for a little while I really delve into this wound I got when I was 5 years old on the playground or whenever it was, or this marriage that ended after 25 years. And I've been running around ever since, kind of trying not to think too much about it. I'm fine. I'm good. I don't need anybody. Or are you ready to move forward and finally not let those things bind you from having more love expanding in your life and more commitment to bring you to a higher place of goal and soul's intention and your full potential in your life? Because those were the questions I was asking myself these last few days. And what it did was it made me realize where I needed to go forward in my life. And so I've renewed my commitment to my spiritual business. I've renewed my commitment to my meditation practice. I've renewed my commitment to what I take in, what I worship, what I think about first thing in the morning, my health. And I realized I was involved in some things that probably were not really super good. And now I'm involved in things I really want to be involved in. I'm on some beautiful groups with people from all over the world. I am working through dispelling a lot of the illusions using Neptune and the final degrees of Pisces to do that for myself. I'm learning how to breathe better. I'm learning how to be able to bring myself to a place where I don't wake up and dread too many things, and really nothing. And I don't say that as I'm bragging. It's just we all do have the power to do that. But what we have a tendency to do is be involved in the wrong things. We get involved with fear, and we think we don't have it, but we're still involved in it. It's just like using the analogy of people who have an obligation to a parent and you keep going there and it's not healthy for you. And, we can't just cut our parent out of our life, right? But at the same time, we can commit to putting ourselves first. We can commit to not being manipulated. We can commit to not allowing that in our energy field to the point where it brings us to a place of real detriment and breaking apart. And where we can't deal with that wound of really facing that. So we now spill that wound onto the sidewalks. We spill that wound onto the other people in our life. And by the same token, there's so many examples, going to work with maybe a boss who's a micromanager and having that person make you feel diminished every day. And then not allowing yourself to commit to you and the fact that you are worthy and that you do know what you're doing and that you are competent, because you don't want to experience the loss of not operating in that energy because you've done it for so long. And you can't just get up out of your desk and walk away and be like, okay, I'm just never coming back here. You have to make a plan. And that's good, but are you committed to a plan? Or are you committed to this person diminishing you so much that you don't feel worthy to make a plan? You see how we have to really think about what are you involved in? And so that micromanager who has diminished you and made you feel incompetent has now taken over a complete involvement in your life, even though you're driving home and telling yourself, oh, I'm leaving that there. And so then you begin to get cynical and you begin to get insecure. And now when someone in your life or someone in your family passes a remark or judges you, you're not strong enough to be not hearing that in a way that brings you further down. And your involvement is in the fear and the judgment and the diminishing, instead of having a commitment to, I know who I am, and I will no longer let this person diminish me. I'm going to now strategically move forward in my life. I'm ready to move forward. And the way you do that is by committing to yourself, committing to your own health, your own psyche, your own betterment, your own full potential. And that's what the Zencuda community is all about, living full potential. Our work is never done. It's every day of our lives committing to yet another rung on the ladder. And things will repeat in this energy and things will come back, especially as Chiron goes, is in that retrograde point, and in Pisces, and Neptune in Pisces is retrograde, and Pluto retrograde, and Mercury is going to go retrograde August 4th. So these things will all be revisited. What's happening in our life now will not just end because, oh, I went and did a 2-hour meditation, I'm fine. These things that are being brought up, these wounds, is a culmination of 16 years of energy that we're going to work with the next few weeks. And as we do that, committing to where am I moving forward? Where really is the plan in my life? Am I ready to do that? This is the last round, initiating that 16-year culmination. Because when we go into Aquarius, Aquarius is going to ask you, hey, we're moving forward now. Where are you? Pluto headed back to Capricorn in that retrograde is going to finish up this energy. But once Pluto goes into Aquarius, everyone's just going to have to move forward, or pretty much you're just going to be stuck for a long time. So move into that beautiful energy. Remember, Aries is asking you, Chiron in Aries is asking you, where are you taking up space? Big, big energy. There were places in my life where I realized, hey, no, you do not need to take up space there, chickie. Is it hard? Yeah. But you know what? This is my Scorpio moon talking now. I've had to walk away from a lot of people that I really love. But what I learned over the years is you don't do it in anger. You don't do it creating more wounds. You don't need the last word. You don't need to prove anything. You just need to have peace in your own heart and mind. Don't move away from people who just haven't learned what you already know with malice. I see so many memes about cut them out of your life. No, just make yourself more important. It becomes less involved with them and more committed to you. So think about where your involvements are. and get involved with yourself and commit to yourself. That's what this energy is. Aquarius energy, when we move forward, is pioneering. It's beautiful energy. It's community. So I hope this will grow. Our YouTube channel has been growing every day. Just really blessed with that. And I think part of that is also that I have really committed to authenticity again. And I did that over the last several years, but was straying a little bit and getting a little bit involved in things like social media, polarity, judgments, internalizing them. And I really have to watch myself to never try to let external involvements produce my internal. No, my internal produces what my world looks like. And that's what I've recommitted to. And I'm in a really good place with that. And I know that everybody out there can do that too, because I had some egregious things in my life. I had some horrible traumatic things happen to me in my life. Probably still will have a couple more. But the question isn't, will I be okay? The question is, how do I make myself okay? The question is, how do I move forward? Not, am I going to be stuck here forever? I remember, I'm just going to share this personal story with you, and then I know our time will come to an end together today for a little while until we see each other again on these electronic devices and on social. But I remember when I went through a very, very painful divorce in 2011. I talk about it a lot because it was actually one of the defining moments of my life. Not that I'm still hooked about it or anything. Like, I'm really not. I did a tremendous amount of work about it. But I do still have wounds, not so much from that incident, but from the repetition of many themes in my life that was just one more prong on the ladder of. But during the time when I was in it, I remember trying to move forward, and I would try to do things socially without this person who'd been by my side for 20 years. And it was really, really hard. And I remember thinking to myself, oh my God, how could the universe leave me here? Is this what my life is going to be like for the rest of my life? And I kind of chuckle with that now, and it's really not funny. But when I look at my life now, since 2011, which is what, we're in 2014, 13 years, and I think about all the places I've been and all the people I've met and all the friends that have come in and out and all the experiences that I've had, the last 13 years have been more expansive and opening and evolving and unbelievable, bad and good, like the spectrum, than the whole lifetime I had before that. And it's because I committed to being open. And when we're not open and we're closed to things, whether it's the dirty shirt, the laundry that we threw there, or, the stuff on our porch, the debris, whatever is keeping us stuck, when we're not open to just going there and looking at it and being super brave and saying, man, this is going to effing hurt, but if I don't do it, I'm going to effing hurt for the rest of my life. That is the commitment we need to make. Committing to going deep, committing to going there. And so I know for me, when I woke up one day, and it was one day at the end of 2011, and I woke up and I realized that I needed to commit to being open, and that my life was no longer going to be ruled by a fear-based mentality, and I was going to live in a love-based mentality. Everything changed. Everything changed. It was just like being grateful for every moment, being in deep solitude, deep loneliness, feeling like I was going to freaking die, but being grateful because I knew it was moving me through somewhere. It was a wave carrying me to something better. And, really going through it, going through abandonment of childhood, going through a lot of abuse, going through a lot of things, and being able to identify it. And that's what this energy is. And that's why I say we've got to close the front door. We've got to go into the meditation, sit with a teacher, sit with, one of your gurus, sit with someone that will hold you for 10 minutes and just say nothing and just be like, I'm sorry these things happened to you. And allow yourself to feel that grief and move on from it. Because this is an energy that wants us to do that in order to move forward. We can't keep kicking that can down the road. This is the moment. This is the moment of feeling the wound and bringing it out. And I know this is a really heavy podcast. I know this is a really heavy video, but that's why I wanted to tape it not in the studio and in my home healing room, because I needed to focus on it. So just like when I went through some really deep trauma in my life, I was 13 years old and my dad left, abandoned me. And I used to sit on the front stoop waiting for him to pick me up, and he wouldn't come. And many of us have that experience. It doesn't diminish us in any one of us. I had watched him at a very young age adopt other children and never talk to me. And I would call him at work and he would hang up on me. And I knew he was going home to two other children that weren't even his biological children. And that created wounds in me that left me very vulnerable to people who diminished me. And I don't regret a single moment of that pain in my life. And people still have a way they could still sting me from that because, they don't know my history. They haven't learned what I've learned. They haven't learned what you've learned, the people who sting you and people who do those things. But now I've grown to a point where I'm grateful that all those things happened to me, because the reason was so that I could walk through them and evolve and understand and know that sometimes when people abandon you, they're not running away from you. They're running towards something that their soul needs. And while we may be collateral damage, that's okay because we're strong enough to handle it when we find our own soul. And that's just my story, one of many of my stories. And that's why I feel that everyone out there has the ability to overcome, triumph over whatever it is, whether it's a physical ailment. I've been through cancer, whether it's an emotional ailment, whether it's just something in the physical world that is a situation. You can come out of it. You can move forward in your life. Pluto and Capricorn is showing you that. And whatever it's been regurgitating for you over the last 16 years is the thing you need to go deep in and find the antidote within you to move forward. It just takes the courage to do it. So that's really what this energy is about. Every time my phone blinks, I think that it's confirmation of the energy. And I have created and founded the Zencuda Soul Space video, online classes, a community for us. Going to be doing retreats, all of the content. I want to hear from all of you. What's your story? What are you overcoming? Help us out here that are still doing some work. That's the Zencuda community. We are really, really serious and committed to our Zen. And our peace is undisturbable. But in order to get there, we have to heal, and we're all here for each other, spurring each other on, supporting each other in our full potential. And I hope you'll join me every Monday at 7 o'clock right here in the Soul Space. But I want to hear from you guys. I want to hear your comments. I want to hear you call into the show. I want to hear you go on the community that I'm building for all of us. Go on the videos on the Zencuda YouTube channel. Comment. Let's really become a force of nature to help all of us heal the wounds that diminish us and bring us down. Because this is the time, this is the pivotal time when we have to get ready to move forward and reach our full potential. Thank you so much. If there's anything that I can do for you, I do private readings and private healing work, mostly astrology, reading your chart to see exactly what your soul intention is in this lifetime and how you can activate that and overcome whatever your wounds are. Please meditate on this beautiful Pluto going into the last degrees of Capricorn energy, and also Neptune in the final degrees of Pisces. And the sun soon will be in Leo, giving us the fire to really move forward in our life. I'll be back here next Monday at 7 o'clock on the Soul Space Podcast. I am Georgia Rose, founder of Zencuda. Thanks so much, everybody. Bye-bye.